But how do they explain that? Because there doesn't seem to be a connection between diversifying your economy and religious thought. I mean, what is the connection he makes?
Bin Salman makes the connection that in Saudi Arabia, the celebrities are not Elon Musk or the like. The celebrities are Sheikh Ayed al-Qarni. They are Sheikh Saleh al-Maghamsi. They are Sheikh Abdurrahman al-Sudais. They are Sheikh Saud al-Sharim. They are, if you count the top 50 celebrities in Saudi Arabia, you would probably only have Muhammad Abdu and one other singer in the top 50. The rest are all mashayikh. Bin Salman in 2021 or 2020, I might have the year wrong, but you can find it online on Google. People can search it. The statement is still in Arabic. And if you can't find it in the statement in Arabic, you can go to Twitter. There is, I can't remember the handle, but it's Akhbar al-Saudiya, government-affiliated account. Bin Salman announced that the hours that the children spend on Quran and Islamic studies in schools is to be significantly reduced. And in its place, we will introduce subjects of critical thinking. I know it's ironic given that anybody who speaks on Twitter is put in prison. But the point here being is that the correlation Bin Salman makes is clear. Too much religion is hampering critical thinking with regards to the development of the economy. Reduce religion. And I think part of that is that when you ask the West to explain their enlightenment, to explain how they became the superpower that they are, they will always bring it back to their bitter war with the church. That when they defeated the church, when they removed its influence, we had free thinking and we became a dominant economy. Bin Salman is importing a history that is alien from the region because, as Ibn Khaldun said, that the conquered always wants to follow the conqueror's way. That the dominant powers, Bin Salman wants to be like the US in terms of its power and prosperity, so I should follow something very similar to them. So Vision 2030 and the cultural social reforms, it's about liberating the Saudi population. وَعِيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ astaghfirullah. I'm going to say this sentence only because it's what Bin Salman believes and not what I believe. We are going to liberate the Saudi population, again, astaghfirullah al-azim, from the chains of religion so that they can freely think or critically think in terms of economic production so we can achieve Vision 2030.
Right, but the Europeans, when they remove the shackles of religion, they not only distance themselves from the church, but they also reform the church and they change the church and they change religion. Is there a dimension of this strategy to change Islam and to make Islam, especially, as we said, the austere understanding of Islam, to turn Islam into something which is completely different?
This is a very difficult subject to talk about. We'll give three examples. Let's start with the first one. Sheikh Saleh al-Maghamsi was the Imam of Masjid Quba. Masjid Quba, for those who don't know, first mosque built in Islam when the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ arrived in Medina. Masjid Quba is where, for those who listen to Muhammad Ayyub, Allah yarahmu, the famous reciter who was the Imam of Medina, he was discovered in Masjid Quba. Imam al-Hudayfi, who our older generation still listen to because they love his recitation, Imam al-Hudayfi was also discovered in Masjid Quba. Sheikh Saleh al-Maghamsi in Masjid Quba put a tweet out in which he described and said during Corona, we already mentioned the example beforehand, but the idea that to pardon people. He was removed from Masjid Quba and disappeared for a while. He's reappeared recently and did a podcast that was released during Ramadan. The Twitter or the tweet that's the hook for you to listen to the podcast. Maghamsi argues that Muslims exaggerate in the traits of Umar bin Abdul Aziz radiallahu anhu, the one who's often considered as the fifth of the rightly guided caliphs. He says we attribute, people can find the tweet, it's still up. And if you can't find it, there's a screenshot on my Twitter. But the Sheikh Maghamsi says we attribute grand gestures of generosity that were not in him. And we attribute bravery and courage that were not in him. So why do we Muslims exaggerate with these things? Which evoked a response saying, what is this madhab that Sheikh Saleh al-Maghamsi is coming in? That's the first example in terms of reforming how we view the deen very gently.
Okay, but that sounds like a very, I don't know, it doesn't sound like a very central Islamic argument, to make. It's a historical figure and he cast doubt on a historical figure. I mean, why would you do that?
Let's start with that as an example, because the answer to that is seen in the context of what's happening. The second point, Mohammed bin Salman announces a series of measures where he says that loudspeakers must be reduced to 33% of the volume for the call to prayer, and they are banned for Quran and khutbah. Some people might think, okay, loudspeakers might be annoying. How many revert stories have you heard of people walking down the street in a Muslim country, hearing the Quran on the loudspeaker and saying that it moved me to the extent that I entered the mosque and then they became Muslim? That's the first thing. Second point is, Why would you reduce the loudspeaker of the volume when you're amplifying the volume of the giant raves and the nightclubs? Second. The third point, when the people could not hear the khutbah on the Friday prayer, the first week after the rule was implemented, they said, we can't even hear the khutbah anymore. So they allowed it for the khutbah at a reduced volumes, but still not for the Quranic recitation. So we take that second measure along with Salih al-Maghamsi talking about Umar ibn Abdul Aziz. Then we talk about last year, where bin Salman announced unusual rules for Ramadan, aside from the ones this year, which we'll get to, in which one of them says, according to Arabic, that the broadcast of prayers may not be broadcast على مواقع التواصل الاجتماعي والإعلام بشتى أنواعها. It cannot be broadcast on media بشتى أنواعها, in any form.
Media being what? TV?
It left it like that. In any media بشتى أنواعها. So any form of media. And this was published on the Ministry of the Islamic Affairs website. So officially, all of the Arab elites understood it as it includes Mecca and Medina. And why are we suddenly banning the broadcast of prayers? So suddenly for 48 hours, there is no clarification if Mecca and Medina will be clearly safe. And anger is New Lines magazine now is spreading in the English world, Middle East Eye now reporting it. Suddenly, is this going to include Mecca and Medina? 48 hours later, the Haramain comes out and says it will not include us. It took 48 hours of a huge backlash, suggesting as if bin Salman was waiting to see what the reaction was. Why would you ban the broadcast of prayers of the mosques during Taraweeh?